Hello and welcome back to the podcast, where nerdy people talk about nerdy things. I'm Ryan, the pessimist.
And I'm Carlos, the optimist.
This is Optimist versus Pessimist, OVP, and also my fiance's here.
Hi, I'm Eva.
Sorry, we don't have you in the intro yet. We're still working on the intro, so...
She should be. This wouldn't
Like
happen
half a
without
year
her.
later, you're still working on your intro?
We have other things to think about, alright? Like topics. And our first topic today, actually, is because for the past couple weeks here, I generally listen to music on my way to work, but I decided to revisit something. I revisited DC, and people who don't know who DC is, you're asking, hey, is that comics? No. That's Dane Cook.
Very well done.
That was a reference.
I clap for you. I don't want that on the audio, though.
Yeah, thank you. So, yes, we're going to be talking about Dane Cook. So I listened to all of his stuff. I didn't realize I had almost everything, like all of his releases. A Vicious Circle, Rough Around the Edges, Isolated Incident.
Isolated Incident.
I had all of them. So, listen to that stuff. So, I think you were saying like Dane Cook was very important to you in your childhood.
Yeah, you know what, man? You actually introduced me to Dane Cook.
Oh.
And the reason why I say it's important is because that was my first real discovery of stand-up and of comedy in general. You know, you always know it's around, but that was the first time I actually actively watched a comedian and followed the career. And also, like, you know, we shared that together in that sense. And then it opened the world up to go look into more comedians. Like, later on, you showed me Carlin. And later on, like, I went back and watched, like, Eddie Murphy, Delirious. I went back and then also now with Netflix giving every comedian a special, is that they're doing now.
Yeah.
You find some really, really good gems in there, like John Mulaney, for example. Or,
oh yeah, he's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. So now I'm very much like aware of comedy because of that, but it all really stems down to Dane Cook. Like, that was the first major thing.
Okay, and what about you, Eva?
How did I meet Dane Cook?
What, did you meet him?
Well, I didn't meet him in person.
Oh.
I essentially got a dude I went to school with who was very weird, gave me his mini SD from his cell phone so that I could have his collection of music. Because I had, like, no music.
That's back in the day, kind of, like, wow.
So I had to put in, like, the adapter and put it in our computer. And it was, like, Hollywood Undead songs and, a bunch of, like, screamo bands and Dane Cook comedy. And I was listening to it all intermixed, and my mother decided that was the devil SD card because it was all swearing and inappropriate things.
Yes, Dane Cook is known for his inappropriateness, for
so
sure.
she made me delete it all, but I did hide a couple of the songs and the Dane Cook music onto my phone personally so that she wouldn't be able to find it.
Okay.
So that was my introduction.
So, going back and listening to Dane Cook, it's very interesting. Like, I don't know if my preferences are for comedy has changed a bit, but I'm finding Dane Cook in retrospect less funny than I remember him. Like, I'd put him at like a guy who at a party I'd love to hear him tell me stories. Like, he's a great storyteller, but in terms of like the actual joke quality and like what is so funny about him, it's kind of at that level, not at stand-up comedy level. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that.
I kind of get what you're saying, and I think it's also very much like what he talks about when it hits you at a certain time. Like, for example, you know, like going back to like Vicious Circle, things like that. At the time, like just kind of starting dating and like meeting people and experiencing a lot of the things that his story jokes are based on.
Yeah.
It gave it a lot more weight.
Okay.
But now that, you know, I've lived that life and been in that world for maybe like 10 years plus, I still think those things are true to life. I don't think they're inaccurate, but they wouldn't hit me as hard because now I have more knowledge, whereas before I was discovering through his eyes and through his stories. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And I think that gave it a lot more weight.
I think his writing was just a little more immature, and as you get older, the things that were funny when you were pubescent and going through that stage of life, and also in like kind of like group mentality with a bunch of other young people who are also excited and hormonal.
Yeah.
As an adult who's listening to it on your own, it just feels immature.
I think that's a fair way of looking at it for sure. Yeah, like I noticed like he focuses on a lot of like repeating things but saying it in a little sillier way. Like my B/E. Like he'll use those kind of tactics where I'm like, oh, that wasn't really funny. There's still some bits though that I still think are genuinely very funny that make me laugh a lot. I enjoy obviously the car alarm is fun. Like there's like I can't go through all of them, but some highlights, obviously, like the car alarm stuff, punching infants. I still
The
think
one
it's
with
really
the
funny.
bathroom stalls. That one
Oh,
will
that is
forever be my favorite.
That's your favorite? I get, yeah, like Dane Cook, like when I think about Dane Cook,
The
I think
BK Lounge.
BK Lounge, shit on the coats, like he has, he has like even though I may have like matured out of his style, there are still things that I can distinctly remember about him, and I don't think that can be said for a lot of like newer comedians. Where like I can't think of somebody like John Mulaney. There's not a specific joke that jumps right at me about
He's
him.
more like generic. He's a good comedian. You know?
Yeah, kind of like
in
he's
a
funny.
field of really good comedians.
Yeah, exactly, kind of. So Dane Cook does stand out from that, but then maybe again it could be just from my experience with him when I was younger. I remember, so like speaking of Dane Cook, in terms of like his trajectory, he kind of just fell off the wagon. What 10 years ago? When was like Isolated Incident was like
2009.
2009. So like 11 years ago. That was his last big stand up thing. It wasn't bad. He went a little darker in that one for sure.
I think his dad had just died.
I think his mom and dad died.
Yeah,
so
around
like
the same
obviously
time.
he's a bit darker.
A lot of what happened to him is that he'd go and try to throw jokes at it's called the Magic Castle, I think, in LA, or it's where the comedians go and test out their stuff, and he became so aggressive towards his audiences that people just didn't want him around anymore. Like he was closed out of a lot of the clubs.
Okay.
Because instead of being like, okay, I'm going to do a set, he'd kind of half do a set and scream at his audience and insult them for not laughing at him. Like, it seemed like he was going through a breakdown in his life.
I never heard that story, actually. That's interesting.
So I think that's a lot of the reason, is that he stopped having his, like, opening, like practice level venues available to him.
Okay.
So he didn't really have that audience testing to be able to launch things higher anymore.
Interesting.
I think he also really liked airplanes. So, because
do you really fault him for that though? Because it's like, in terms of a business sense, it makes so much sense to like if they want to keep bringing you back for the planes movies, it's just doing like all you work in a booth and getting paid.
I know, but like I didn't think his movies were that bad in terms of like.
No, they
Employee of the
weren't.
Month, man.
Employee of the Month's not bad.
It's a good movie. I like Employee
fine.
of the Month.
Best friend's girl is not bad. Like most of it, like I can't think of like a horrible one. Maybe the Jessica Alba one where that one is meh.
The one where he's in, I can never remember the name of it, where he's a line cook.
Waiting.
Yeah, he's hilarious in that.
Yeah, that's a little small
Very
cameo.
funny.
Maybe he should have focused more on that instead of being the lead guy. He could have been like a side character. It would have worked better. But like, yeah, I never felt like his movies were that bad. They were pretty meh, and like, there's a lot of actors who were pretty meh that still had more movies afterwards. So it's sad that he had to go down the planes route and kind of just stay there.
But I think a lot of things, like Evo was bringing up, there's a lot in his personal life that happened. Like, where it came out that his brother was a long time managing his estate.
Yeah.
Actually stole like thousands and thousands of dollars from him over like a really long period of years.
Yeah.
And he didn't really catch wind of it until like maybe around like 2018 time, and then obviously he had to like fire his brother, and he had to like get the cops on him, and like it's really ugly what happened. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think those things can affect.
Yeah.
But what's weird is that he toured in 2019, and I was assuming that he seemed to be leading up to like making another special. He gave lip service to the fact that he was working on material and jokes for that purpose, but nothing's come out since
as of
then.
yet. Okay.
One thing I think is different with stand-up comedians versus musicians. Like, we hear constantly that musicians have the most turmoil in their lives.
Yeah.
Things are constantly falling apart, drug addictions and all this, but albums are still released. And I think a lot of that has to do with contracts and managers. I don't think stand-up comedians have the same influence from, like, an authority figure that forces them to put out work.
Okay.
Like, musicians, it doesn't matter if they're drugged up, they're still dragged on stage.
Yeah.
Nobody's dragging Dane Cook on stage. It's nobody's job to get him there anymore.
Right.
I think that's a lot of the reason why he's not fulfilling the things that he wants to do.
Well, who knows? Maybe he doesn't want to do stand-up comedy as much anymore. Maybe there's a reason why, obviously, these horrible things happened to him, and that he just kind of took a step back.
I mean, he's getting older.
But again, like
46 right now.
46 again, not too old. I mean, Chris Rock just came out with one, and I think he's in his 50s, and like.
But he'd have to change his comedy so much. Dane Cook's comedy was young.
Yeah, that's
He'd have to change everything because he's not a 20-year-old guy going to clubs and
kicking
doing
down
one-night stands
bathrooms
anymore.
He's not kicking down
That's
bathroom
exactly
stalls.
it. Like, would his style translate? Would he be able to write comedy that is relevant to him now, that works within that specific style, that high energy, that stories about exploring, like growing up essentially, or going through these big life kind of events?
I give him the benefit of the doubt. I think if he actively pushed at it, he could come up with something new, something different. Maybe okay, obviously he is different. He can't use the high energy. He can't use the overtly sexual, and so he can't go that route as much anymore. So, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he can find something else, something new
He
that'll
could
fit
probably
him.
do really dark comedy well.
I think
Like,
so.
I think it's hard to succeed in that,
Yeah,
but I think he could do it well.
I think so too. I think definitely. Again, like I even though I do notice that like his comedy is not for me much anymore, I still like listening to it. Again, like I think he's a great storyteller. I think he's fun to listen to. So like yeah, I would like to hear more from him again. I'd like to see how he's matured his material if he has. Be very interested. I'd like him to come back for sure.
Me too. I really do want him to come back, and he's got stuff to talk about. Like right now, for example, like I think he's dating someone who's like 21, 22 compared to his 46. So like he gets a lot of guff from his audience and just generally the people. But in interviews, he's explained that they do love each other on like a personal level, and that the age is like irrelevant.
Yeah.
I would love to hear jokes centered around something like that, right?
Yeah.
But also, like you alluded to this, the political climate very much has changed, and especially for comedy, in what you can and can't say.
Right.
So I don't know if he could really get back to that same level of success.
Okay. Final thoughts for you on this, Eva?
I mean, I feel like he could take the Kevin Hart route, write about his life now, like about being an older guy and how things have changed and how, he can't run out on stage and be doing like flip kicks.
Well, he's speaking of him. There's the guy where like he's made nothing but not good movies, and he's still getting movies. I guess maybe Dane Cook can be in the third Jumanji movie. Maybe throw him in there.
He's got to be friends with The Rock, and then you're good to go.
Oh yeah. I mean that should be easy. He's high energy. All right, so we're gonna pivot now. We're gonna get out of this, and we're gonna talk about something else now. Last week, I believe, we talked about a Batman versus Captain America.
Yes, we did.
It was a good old battle here. And so we thought we'd bring back this idea, but instead, we gave ourselves the opposite of Batman, so we have no prep time for this. So we asked Eva to write down, what happened? You said 5, right?
I have 5.
Write down 5 battles. And so Carlos and I are going to it's going to be more of a discussion, not necessarily going to have a debate, unless there is going to be one.
And we'll re-emphasize, we're doing this off the top. We don't know what she's picked. We don't know who's going to argue for what and how we're going to end up actually doing this. So it should be interesting.
If there's not comic book characters, it's like political figures. It's like
I should have done that.
No, I'm glad you didn't. So
Washington versus Mulan.
Washington, the state of
all the people of Washington versus a fictional character Mulan.
I think DC's got this one. I think Washington's really got this fight. Just gotta surround her. She's done. She can grab all the fireworks she wants. It's not gonna save her.
All right, let's do this.
All right.
Okay, our first one, and I hope that you guys know both of these characters.
Oh no, this is bad already.
Is Sentry versus Nova.
Oh, I know.
All right, Carlos, this is all you. Well. I've heard the name Nova. He's from the Nova Corp. Right?
Yes, it's Core.
He essentially is the Nova Corps.
Ah, he is.
Yeah. These are both S tier characters, if you're wondering.
So he thought he was the Burger King, is what you're saying.
So just really quickly, Ryan. So
okay.
Richard Rider, he is the last surviving member of the Nova Corps, and they draw on what's called the Nova Force. So very much like Marvel's answer to the Green Lantern Corps. A little more like Iron Man in design, and also like the powers of the Nova Force aren't as well defined as saying like the constructs thing. Like it's more versatile in like how you can use it, like what it can really do. Like it's very much energy based. Like it's a little Captain Marvel energy beams wise, but also it can be used like to enhance physical abilities, power of flight, and it very much also because the Nova Force was like spread out through the entire core, when it's just him, he has access to more of that power. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
it works on that basis where like if it's not as spread out, it's stronger, like focused through a person.
Okay, and Sentry is the one that's kind of Superman but schizophrenic?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yes, very much so. That's just basically it. He's a Superman level character, but he's like schizophrenic, and also he exists to hold back like an entity,
The void.
the void. It's like a darkness thing where like
Okay, so
darkness that envelops the world if he is unable to contain it within himself.
Essentially, he's
Oh.
constantly fighting the darkness within him, trying to do good, but ultimately he can fail.
so is he kind of like Iron Fist who's holding back the storm?
Clever.
I
I'd give
love-
you another clap.
But no. All right.
So who
So
would win?
Sentry 50% of the time when he's not out of his mind. I guess.
I mean, yeah, because it's so weird. Like, the levels of power here are so extreme in one way. Because Sentry is that Superman character where he's pretty much unbeatable. Like, he can go up against the Hulk. He can go up against any of them. When he's good,
Yeah.
he's the best.
You're right.
But again,
So
Nova is more consistent in the sense that he doesn't have to deal with like the mental battle of things. He's very much like.
Okay. So do you give the advantage to Nova? Or would you? I say I give it a split. I give it a split just because I think in those times where he is kind of losing control, Nova could maybe kind of exploit something.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But then sometimes also like the Sentry doesn't even want to turn into the Sentry. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't.
Okay.
Like he doesn't even want to access his powers sometimes
Like-
out of fear that he'll lose control while he's fighting.
I was gonna say almost kind of like Infinity War Hulk.
This
where
could
Hulk,
almost
where
be
Hulk just says no.
This
No.
could almost be a nothing fight where
Where
Nova
that
just
Nova-
takes him out.
He just beats up a regular guy. He flies at him full speed and just murders him.
Yeah, so the
Okay,
easy
so-
answer is Sentry, but really if we're writing the characters how they've been presented, I'd give it to Nova the 6 out of 10 times if we're going back to that.
Oh, the 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
Never go above or below.
That's the number.
I'll go 5. I'll go 5. All right, I think that's our first one.
I was very interested to see how you guys would do that.
Well,
one.
because he knows the Marvel universe better than I do, so I always turn to him.
Nova's so cool. I want
I
Nova
know,
so
I know
bad.
you
It's
love
not
Nova.
happening. They set it up in Guardians and still no
Wait,
Nova.
I have a question. When all the lanterns, when that force becomes taken over by one person, what's the name of that character?
Parallax.
Parallax is just the yellow creature.
Yeah, but when Hal Jordan initially when he went like insane,
Yeah.
and he killed all the Lantern Corps and stole all their rings, he went by Parallax.
So
Oh.
does having more rings make you more
Yes.
powerful? How?
Because you can access all of them.
It works on the same concept where if the lantern, if the central power battery isn't being shared by multiple lanterns,
Yeah.
and is
But okay, what's the difference in his powers though? What can he do that's different? Like, can he make bigger objects? Is that it?
make stronger constructs, make more at one time. So like, you know what I mean?
Okay,
Well,
I
at one
think.
point, he recreated everyone he'd ever loved.
Yeah, he recreated
Because he
not
had
only
so
his
much
whole city,
power.
but all of the people living in it,
Oh, that's not
all
bad.
at one time.
Were they all just green tinged too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
no,
thought
really.
maybe it would improve the quality as well. But I guess not. Okay, what's the next one? Hit us up with that next one.
It's a classic.
Oh, classic. Okay.
It's Thor versus the Hulk.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Do you want to take a character on this one, or do you just want to talk about it? This
Oh.
one's difficult.
I mean, I did see the movie, and spoilers: the Hulk fucking murders him. So, to put it bluntly, I guess. So, I'd go with the Hulk.
See, I'm gonna disagree with you here.
Really?
Yeah, and only because this is really inconsistent throughout the character's publication history.
Yeah.
But can Asgardians, can they die? Can
Well,
they be
Hulk,
killed
Hulk killed him
in the
though.
same way?
Hulk sent him, and then didn't she bring him back? But Hulk killed him in that
What
movie.
are you referring to?
It's a cartoon movie, Hulk versus Thor, and
Right.
Hulk is controlled by
Enchantress. right?
Enchantress, yes, and so and Hulk kills him.
I didn't remember how that ended, but Like actually kills him.
I think
like,
actually kills him,
definitively?
and then Helga,
Goddess of Death. Yeah.
Goddess of Death sends him back. I think.
Fascinating.
But then again, he could be holding back. So I mean, okay, the reason I say Hulk is because Hulk has this very OP power where he just keeps getting stronger the more that you fight him. So you have to decisively defeat him quickly, or else he's going to eventually overwhelm you. And I don't think that Thor has the ability to overwhelm him that
All you
quickly.
have to do is render him unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is very difficult, given his incredible healing factor. Like, it's much better than Wolverine's, and might even be better than Deadpool's. So that's where I'm standing on that.
Right. Okay. So then, my alternative to this being, like, Thor has a lot of, people don't know, but Thor has a lot of gadgets too. Like he's got that belt that like amplifies his strength like 10 times
Smoke
over.
bombs, because I need that.
And also, if this is like modern Thor, where we're not doing the whole if he doesn't hold on to his hammer, he'll turn back into whoever guy.
Oh yeah, we're not going to do that.
We're not doing that.
That would be ridiculous.
I feel like it's easier to turn Hulk back into Banner than it is to hurt an Asgardian in a mortally wounding way. I'm not gonna say that it can't happen because of that example you pointed out, but it always seems to me that they can take almost like an infinite amount of punishment before they would be close to dying. Very much like a Superman situation where, like, sure, Doomsday can beat him and kill him that way, but it took that level of beating to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think Hulk gets there.
Really? I mean, if I remember correctly, the strongest he's ever gotten, he's cracked a planet in half.
The Worldbreaker Hulk.
Yeah, Worldbreaker, yeah, exactly. So I think the Hulk has the potential to beat him.
But he wouldn't get that mad.
But also
in a straight up fight, what's gonna make him that angry? Like, because you're talking about like
frustration.
He was dealing with like the death of like his loved ones, and
okay,
his planet, and his world. So it wouldn't get to those levels.
Okay, I mean, I guess that's fair. But I guess are we thinking about this fight realistically? Because if you think about it realistically, Hulk's gonna keep getting madder, and Thor, obviously because they're friends, is going to try to knock him unconscious, but like also be like a little concerned fighting him. So I think Hulk has that advantage where he's not holding back anything at all. So,
do you think that the Thunder could act like, going back to what you just mentioned about knocking out the Hulk?
Yeah.
Do you think that the Thunder, like at a high enough level, could act almost like getting tased? You know what I mean? Like if he hits him with a bolt like straight on.
I mean, if you jolt his heart, and then if you were to cut off blood circulation to the brain long enough, which you could do if you're a god,
because his physiology is still that of a human in that sense.
Well, he has to get him in a lock, in like one of those classic locks where the Hulk can't do anything, which is difficult, I would imagine. And the lightning, that one's tricky. I don't know how good of a healing factor he has. Because his skin is impenetrable, potentially. Like if you try to cut off his arm, I don't know what kind of powers you need in order to do that.
His eyes and the inside of his mouth wouldn't be impenetrable.
They are though.
How could the inside of your organs be impenetrable?
Oh, because there's a famous, I don't know what this is in. You could probably tell me this, Carlos. Where that was in the movie. They mentioned that where
Banner shot himself, but then the Hulk spit out the bullet.
Yeah. So obviously the insides of the Hulk are also almost impenetrable or something.
Here's my other question for you.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the Hulk being strong enough to lift the hammer just off of pure strength?
No.
Right?
I think magical properties outweigh that.
Exactly. So I hate it because they've done this a lot.
Really?
Where the Hulk essentially gets angry and strong enough to like subvert the power of the magic.
No.
Awful. And then there you are. Like if you can get the hammer on top of him, he's not going to be able to move it. You know what I mean? Like that's the end of your fight.
So just imagining it on his chest.
Yeah, exactly. Him just kind of like a turtle.
Flailing. Yeah. So doesn't matter at that point how strong he is. If he can't get up,
no,
that's the end.
But can't he slide out of it?
Not if the weight is forcing him purely down.
That's what I'm assuming. Like we're talking like center of the mass, weight's on you, you're stuck.
Okay, see, I see how you like led me into this trap here. You had me like, oh yeah, this would be ridiculous, right? Well, now look, this is how I defeat your guy. So this was very deceptive on how you did this. So
I think that's a huge like tactical thing. Like that isn't used as often as it should be used. Like him weighing people down with
He did that in the movie once to somebody. He did that to Loki, I think. He just kind of put the hammer on him.
and he was stuck.
Yeah.
See, the meme
Genius.
world has done better because there's been 100 memes of Thor's hammer on like toilets and superheroes being like, dude, why?
Maybe this. Maybe the Hulk realizing he can't get the hammer off. He reverts to Bruce Banner. And Bruce Banner, being the good guy that he is able to wield the power of Thor.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. I still give it to Thor.
Okay. You know what? It's tough. I don't know. Thor's never been that impressive to me because every time there's that classic Thor versus Superman. I think I mentioned that last time, but I never saw that. I'm like, well, Superman would that obviously. Thor's never impressed me.
See, I disagree with you. I think Superman would lose that because Thor is 100% magic based.
Okay,
So-
wait. Hercules is only half god, and in the universe, he is like S tier leveled.
Yeah.
Thor is full god. That's like a double S tier level.
Going back to the Hulk, though, do you remember that one time where he was fighting the Juggernaut and like they were pushing each other back, and the Hulk decided to move out of the way. The Juggernaut just went flying out. That was great. So you know what? I don't know what the number to give this. You gave it 6 out of.
Okay, yeah,
10
no, for this one, okay, you're gonna not like this, but I'm gonna say that in this one, Thor wins 8 out of the 10.
Wow, that is incredible. Wow.
What do you think?
I think. You know what? I'm gonna backtrack here a bit. I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna give it a stalemate. We're 5 out of 5. I think Hulk can, because obviously I think unless I'm misremembering this movie entirely, I think the Hulk killed him. So I think the Hulk has the potential to overwhelm Thor, especially if Thor is trying to just calm him down at first.
Right.
So I think that'll happen, and then obviously Thor with his god powers, with his ability, with his hammer, could.
That's an excellent point, though. Would Thor hold back because of Banner?
Yes, I think so. So I think that you forgot about that aspect, but.
Well, no. Are you guys doing this argument based on like the character friendship or just character abilities?
Well, this is
that's
about,
interesting because in our Captain America Batman thing, we said that was the first time that they were.
Well, yeah,
coming
but
face to
that's
face.
because they're from different
universes.
So,
If we're assuming it's the first time, then that's not a factor.
yeah, but we're not going to assume that because this is interconnected.
I'll give that to you.
Just like because if Batman fought Dick Grayson, we're not going to be like, well, they've never met each other before because that would obviously. So
you know what? In that scenario, I will give you 5 out of 5.
okay, we agree on 5 out of 5 or 5 out of 10. I don't know numbers. So next one, please, if you wouldn't mind.
Venom versus the Scarlet Witch.
I mean, the Scarlet Witch changes reality constantly and can do that. So
But he's real fast. No, I that's honestly why I picked them.
really,
Is because his physical speed and agility versus her reaction time is why I picked them.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Like you would think right away that Scarlet Witch would win because of the, like you said, the reality warping powers. But in publication history, the only times that she's done this reality warping stuff is like insane trauma, like emotional trauma moments, like the death of Vision or what have you, like the death of a bunch of X-Men or something traumatic. So I feel like in a straight up fight, like you wouldn't get to those levels of like she wouldn't warp the reality unless maybe she was like right at the point of death.
okay, but she still has pew powers where she can
Chaos
shoot magic.
So chaos magic.
And sorry, I don't know how to describe it else than she could shoot you from far away. Pew.
And it's also interesting to note that when the character started out, it was more of like a probability thing. Like she could alter probabilities.
Oh, like domino.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually, perfect. Yeah, it's more like a domino effect.
Okay, but then they changed it to her being more like a witch with having this access to chaos magic, right?
Mm-hmm. And the Venom symbiote, like,
But it's so
it's
weak.
pretty OP in the sense of like
pretty weak to a lot of things, though. That's the big problem with that.
to sound and fire.
Which she could do.
Can she do fire?
I've never seen her produce flame.
I'm going to look it up right now. So you guys keep talking about this.
The other thing I want to point out is with healing factors, Scarlet Witch doesn't have any kind of healing factor or anything.
She can fly, though.
Yeah, but if he came up behind her and extended his arm into a blade, which we know he can do, before she realized he was there and just impaled her through the center of the chest, She's dead. That's
Also,
the
like-
end of her.
Like strength, speed, and agility wise, because we're going on like Spider-Man rules here for Venom. Like, she doesn't. To my knowledge, she doesn't have any kind of like superhuman level like strength feats or like speed feats. It's more just about the chaos magic stuff.
In the comics, does she have to physically use her hands and move her body to use her powers?
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Okay,
The
so
weird
if he
hand
were to
symbol
bind her,
crap.
because we know that Venom post Spider-Man has the ability to bind, like to shoot webbing or an organic webbing, couldn't he just bind her hands and render her pretty much useless?
Essentially, it's so weird. Like I kind of want to give it to Venom, like just outright. But in the scenario where she changes the reality, then yeah, she
Or
wins
if
every
she's
time.
aware that he's there.
Well, she has to be aware. I mean, these fights have to be like both combatants know that they're fighting each other. We can't just have like, well, obviously if this guy snuck up on them, like that
Well,
makes
no, but with his agility, he could get behind her and shoot his organic matter through her so quickly that she wouldn't have time to react.
Mhm.
Versus her being smart enough to get up in the air and away from him first. Like,
Also,
sorry, I shouldn't be so involved in this.
Would
no, you're involved in this. This is your thing too.
would you count it as a win if the Venom symbiote decided to leave Brock and try to take over Scarlet Witch because of the chaos magic powers?
That is a win.
Because like
Win
the
for
Venom
For
symbiote
Venom.
is like very much like an opportunist in that sense.
Okay, yeah, because you're not making the distinction of Venom. Okay, wait. Who is Venom connected to? Who's the symbiote connected
This is
to?
Brock.
It is Brock? Okay.
I'm
I was just
assuming.
going to say anyone post Spider-Man.
But
Because pre-Spider-Man was Deadpool, and that would just be a ridiculous fight.
pre-Spider-Man. What do you mean?
The first person that Venom bonded to on Earth was Deadpool.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
That's
Was?
been retconned.
When was that?
I want to say it was like around 2015 when
That's
they were
dumb.
doing the Battle World thing.
I don't like it.
It's like
Deadpool
a,
rejected him because he felt bad for having to subject something to his own messed upness.
Ah, I see.
yeah, it's clever. Like it's clever in the writing of it, and they do the Deadpool thing properly. It's weird that they like hard retcon that to be like in canon for the universe.
Okay, I have to read like 3 different articles to understand what Scarlet Witch can actually do. Because I go to because it just says, oh, she manipulates chaos magic. What does that mean? I have to go to chaos magic. There's these different kind of states. I'm like, oh, just give me the answer. So I'm not gonna look it up. I assume she could create fire. It seems to be some kind of.
If she can create fire, then this is new.
I think Venom has too many things to exploit. Whereas Scarlet Witch, yeah, she's human, but she can also fly. She can manipulate matter. Depending on what interpretation, I don't know how much buildup she needs in order to manipulate, like to change all of society as we know it. But also, she could just maybe she could just change that scenario individually.
Right, like just the symbiote being attached to somebody
Just
or
be like,
something.
all right, that's not happening.
But sorry, you didn't answer. Would you count it as a win for Venom if the symbiote took over Scarlet Witch? Like without like no knockout,
no, because
nothing.
this isn't a fight. That's not a fight.
Well, I mean, if you're physically subduing them inside your own mass, haven't you won a fight?
This seems to go against the spirit of what this fight is supposed to be, though.
Mm-hmm. You're
Okay.
thinking like just a knockout kind of brawl.
Yeah, I'm
like,
talking about
at its face.
Yeah, I'm taking it
face
as face value as a fight, and I feel like that's a very underhanded way to give Venom the victory. Whereas I'm more comparing them in terms of combatants.
See, at the end of this, I would say 50-50 chance either wins, depending on how it starts out in the first few seconds.
I'm gonna say Scarlet Witch 7.
I'm gonna say Scarlet Witch wins more, like 4 out of the 10 fights.
Okay, so wait, so Venom wins 6.
Mhm.
Okay, you went a very backhanded
Yeah,
way
I
of
just-
explaining that.
Because
I
I'm
was
just
like,
like it's so interesting to do these matchups because at face value, like Venom should have no chance
yeah,
with the power set, but the way that the character is presented, like she's never constantly doing the reality warping thing. So, but if she can create fire, then we're fucked.
that's such a
You know
basic
what,
thing.
Marvel, define better what the chaos magic can do.
Yeah, I would really
Because we didn't even
appreciate
touch
that.
like the telepathy or like the mind control aspect of it.
No.
If she mind controls symbiote,
Well, I
Can
don't-
you mind
Can
control
you
symbiote?
mind control it though? Is the question.
I
I thought.
If
Eddie,
it first attached to Deadpool, wouldn't it be kind of immune to that kind of thing?
can we just stop talking about that aspect of it?
I'm sorry,
You'd
it's
like
canon.
it if you read it. It's
No,
funny.
I
and
don't
clever.
like it. I mean, it's fun. It's for the joke, but now it's canon.
I'm amazed I knew something canon in the Spider-Man and Deadpool universe that you didn't.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at that pull. That's a deep cut pull that we
Okay.
just did right there.
I read Deadpool comics when they first released. Okay, Joe Kelly's run. Okay, that's my boy. Not this new stuff. I haven't read like Brian Poshn's or I think of that. Like, I think that's probably where that came from.
Wait, which ones did I read?
You read Daniel
Way.
Daniel Way. Yeah, you read Daniel Way's run, which is newish.
Really?
Yeah, his was the second last one.
Oh, and I read all the introductions.
Yeah, which
him and everyone else's runs.
Yeah.
Okay, our next one, if you're ready,
Sure.
is Drax the Destroyer versus Black Panther.
Oh my god.
I actually don't know other than Drax, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, Drax.
Don't think of the movie version.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I
inaccurate.
only know the movie version of him, so my gut would go to Black Panther because one, master martial artist. Potentially, I'm gonna say he's better than Captain America. I seem to be in a minority with that, thinking that, but I think he's better.
Actually, modern interpretations of that, usually they show Black Panther winning.
Okay,
Now,
so then,
that's
and also he has access to Panther. Panther juice? What does he take? Is it a flower?
It's a flower. It's an herb. It's like weed.
Okay, so he's on herbs, and he also has unbreakable armor, vibranium. So I mean, like, what does Drax have that can deal with any of that?
He's got a really high level of super strength.
Okay.
Like ridiculous, and also it's given lip service to he has a lot of fighting experience. So as a combatant, like he's actually very versatile. He's not just like a brute with it, even though you'd think that he was. And a lot of people underestimate him in that sense. Like they just see like a hulking brute.
Yeah.
But he's actually very tactical. He's very experienced with knives. Weirdly enough, like he's got like a.
Well, no, they introduce him with knives.
Yeah. But like I mean, like he's like tactically, like he's with knives. Like it's like almost like the Captain America shield situation.
Okay, how strong are we talking about here? What, like in terms of
like we're talking like Superman levels of like super strength.
I don't believe you. Why have knives at that point?
Because his enemies are also incredibly high levels.
Yeah, he
Drax
fights.
the Destroyer in the comics was like a massive thing. In the movies, he was put to like the poor comedian. They toned him down so much that he's a weak ass broth.
Broth?
Yeah, he used to be a hearty stew, and now he's a weak broth.
Interesting analogies. Yes. Okay, I'm going to quickly look this up. Not that I don't believe you, but I absolutely don't believe you.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I'm going to check this in terms of his strength.
I'm glad
wait,
Carlos and I know comic book characters.
Who is it? Who are we fighting here? Drax and
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Black Panther. Yeah, so Black Panther doesn't like. Does the herb give him like
Superhuman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would.
Or is it more like a Captain America situation?
I think it's above Captain America, but again,
the herb is temporary though. It wears off.
It wears off eventually, but I think it lasts a pretty long time if I remember correctly, enough for a fight.
That's inconsistent through different writers and runs.
Okay,
Sometimes it's like they take it once and they have the Black Panther powers.
That's it?
Yeah, and then other times it's like you have to re-up.
You know what? I think I've actually only heard the initial one where you have to take the flower the one time. So I think either or, even if you have to re-up, I think once is enough for the fight. So I think he's above Captain America in terms of strength, stamina, speed, and everything like that.
We also have regeneration, like slight healing factor with Drax.
Okay.
Black Panther doesn't have anything like that.
Sure, but he has vibranium. And
right.
Again, what do you have weapon-wise?
So you're going with that gross suit that absorbs the stuff and shoots it back? I hate
No, not that it absorbs, not that it shoots it back, it's just that it absorbs it so that he doesn't take any damage.
I mean, we know that that's not how head injuries work, so if Drax just pounded his head in enough times that his brain turned to mush, he would die.
No, that's actually how that works in comic books.
But we know physiologically that's impossible.
But we're talking about comic books.
Is it magic?
No.
Then it doesn't matter, because physiologically it's not possible. Unless it's magic, I won't take it.
No, well, I mean, you don't have to, because you're not in this fight. But I'm saying that's not how comics have interpreted vibranium. Vibranium is supposed to vibrate so quickly that you don't take any damage at all whatsoever.
Even if your body is moving.
Yeah.
So if your head hits the ground and you're in a vibranium suit, even though your brain is still physically moving, your brain hasn't moved.
I think so, Carlos.
No.
Well, what is your thoughts on this?
See, it's hard.
See,
I don't.
I
I don't think that the vibranium suit should negate all damage. I feel like that's unrealistic in terms of what a suit does.
Well, it's unrealistic, but this is
no. I know we're talking about comic books, but I mean, like, even within the universe, like, I think vibranium has a limit because it's been broken before. So if you hit something, like, if you hit it hard enough, Thanos was able to break the shield just because he hit it hard enough. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not necessarily vibranium. That's a vibranium, a mix of different alloys.
Fair enough. No, fair enough. Granted, but like, I think it can still be subverted. You know what I mean? Like,
there's a point where so much damage is done where damage transfers to the body.
And also, if we're doing like multiple hits at the same time, wouldn't the effectiveness, wouldn't it be like not as effective to like the second and third consecutive hit?
Okay, it says kinetic energy is dissipated within the bonds instead. So it absorbs all the kinetic energy.
Okay, well
external to the body.
Well,
it can't stop the kinetic energy in your body, or your heart wouldn't be able to pump.
I mean, that's
so
true.
Brain damage would still occur.
I'm gonna say that they don't think about this kind of stuff when they develop super suits and super armor. They don't think about this kind of stuff. So I'm attacking it. I'm attacking it as a comic book reader who's not supposed to overthink this too much.
Okay, so then give me this.
Okay.
Tactically, then I'm sure Drax could figure out that if you remove the suit.
How's he gonna remove the suit?
Couldn't you just take
it's
the
just
head
a
off?
Suit.
What?
It could be removed.
He could remove the top section that links at his collars.
And
then just destroy his face.
Like, I think any suit can be removed.
I've never heard
Iron
that.
Man suit, Batman suit, any costume can be removed. They're people wearing something.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like,
okay, but the difference is like you don't remove Batman's like his shirt. Like to me that's odd because like you could maybe knock off his belt, something that's kind of that's not attached to him per se. Like it's just attached to him, not like he's actively wearing it. How do you like his thing is a bodysuit? You can't even get access to it. How are you taking that off? He has to be strong enough in order to break the vibranium. Which is he Thanos level of strength is the question.
He's around there. He's around like Thanos tier. He can go toe to toe with Thanos for a bit.
That's crazy.
He's really strong.
Okay, so now that you say that, I guess I might have to give it to you. If he is Thanos level super strength, that seems like a 8 out of 10 because maybe see because Black Panther is also very intelligent. He also was able to put Silver Surfer into an armbar.
He's very much like a Batman.
Yeah, he put the Silver Surfer into an armbar. The Silver Surfer has the powers of Galactus. Who is, I don't know, is Galactus above Thanos? In terms of strength?
Yeah. I think so.
Yes. Like base Thanos, you mean? No,
yeah.
Problem? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Power Cosmic, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you still though, I'd still maybe give it to Drax. Maybe 7 to Drax. I don't know, what would you give it?
6.
6 to Drax?
6 to Drax.
Why less?
Because the vibranium thing, if we take that at face value and it works the way you're saying it works, then that's pretty OP. Like you could just tank everything. So
well, they did say there's a limit, so that's why I also kind of backed off a little bit.
Hard to say.
All right. Think you have one more for us?
I do have one more, and it's probably the weirdest matchup of all of them.
Good. Aunt May versus somebody. Give it.
It's
Aunt May would win.
You're in the right neighborhood there.
Oh,
it's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man versus Scarecrow.
Oh.
Hallucinogenic nightmares versus our little boy.
Oh my god. Okay.
Or college kid, depending on which run.
I mean, Spider-Man can get affected by that stuff.
Oh yeah.
He because Mysterio messes with them all the time.
All the time. Oh, the fear toxin would work.
Fear toxin would work, but given Spider-Man's experience with fighting opponents that have that, and also Scarecrow is just a base level guy with no kind of martial arts skill or anything like that, I think he'd be able to navigate himself through the fear toxin and be able to...
Except Mysterio's illusions are different than fear toxin because, like, with the experience over time, he learns to distinguish, like, oh, this is like a Mysterio illusion. But I feel like
The
fear toxin is
in your
very much
brain.
like, and also it's very specific to the person, like psychologically.
Yeah.
And I don't think Spider-Man has like gone up against anything to that level. And there's nothing to say that he can't get drugged. Like he doesn't.
I never said that
He doesn't work that way. So,
Yeah.
but what's a victory in this case? Because like even base level like Scarecrow, if Spider-Man's distracted, is he strong enough to knock him out?
No,
like,
I mean, all he'd have to do is throw a rope around his neck and drag him while he's incapable of fighting back and strangle him to death, really.
Well, but
that depends on how effective the fear toxin is.
And also Spider-Man, and I don't think it'd be as effective given that Spider-Man is superhuman. I'm assuming it would take a lot for him to even get like drunk or something like that, because I think they have that. When you're superhuman, you have that kind of higher level tolerance.
No, we know that he can get intoxicated easily because
Well,
of
not
the one where he's an alcoholic.
Sorry?
Spider-Man has been an alcoholic at one point. So we know that he can become intoxicated easily.
I didn't know about that.
I want to read that story.
Am I wrong? Because I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
I know Iron Man's an alcoholic.
I'll look it up while you guys
Yeah, okay,
discussion.
sure. I think given his superhuman stats, given his superhuman strength, Scarecrow's gonna have a tough time trying to. It works with Batman because Batman is also just a regular guy, and when you drug him, he could mess with him a bit more. Whereas if you're dealing with superhuman, like you can drug him, sure, but it's still going to be difficult to beat a guy who can like lift up cars easily.
Could Scarecrow as a Dr. Jonathan Crane, like go all psychiatrist on him and make him like relive the traumas of?
Yeah.
You know what? Could he win that way?
It's like,
could he talk him down?
It's like, remember when you missed that exam because you were out there being Spider-Man?
Do you remember when you let Gwen Stacy die?
When you killed Gwen Stacy? Well, I mean, I always determined that he killed Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, because her neck wouldn't have snapped if he hadn't tried to catch her with the web.
Yeah, he killed her.
Okay, sorry, I was wrong. He was never a known alcoholic. But he did drink, and something bad happened long enough to declare that he would not drink ever again.
Okay.
Because such terrible things happened.
Okay. But I don't think the fear toxin is as effective. So, I think Spider-Man wins this one kind of easily. He'll be distracted, obviously, but...
See, I disagree so much.
Though.
I mean, Spider-Man does have a lot of things... But like it's like if I'm thinking about it structurally, like that would just kind of motivate him to do better, like showing him all the stuff and the mistakes he's made, and it's like, okay, well, I got to do better this time, and I will, and it'll be like a powerful moment for him, and then he'll just defeat Scarecrow.
See, to me, when I think about it, Scarecrow inducing the fear toxin to him.
Yeah.
Of somebody grabbing him, cutting him, how much of it would he be aware of? How well could he fight back?
I don't know how much his spider sense would be affected.
Well, there's imminent danger all around.
Yeah, I think it would be constantly going off.
It wouldn't be going off against illusions because we know that
it's not an illusion. It's chemo in the brain.
But it is illusion. It's not actually actively happening.
No, but it's in his brain, so it's real to him. The
Yeah,
material aren't real
if
to
you
him.
die in a dream,
but the illusions are also essentially real for him as well because he thinks that those things are happening, but the spider sense still doesn't affect.
But those are just a visual outside of your own body thing. If it's
but he
inside
still
your
thinks
own
it's
body,
real though.
Yes,
so I don't understand how you can say that it works for that but doesn't work for the other.
Thinking it's real outside of your body, the sense only reacts when something is going to happen to hurt him, to cause danger to him.
Yeah.
If his brain is telling him that danger's all around, his sense would be going off endlessly. Because his brain is telling him that, not his eyes.
It's more of like an imminent danger thing. Because it doesn't continuously go off during the fight. Like, it goes off at specific parts during the fight, though. So I don't think that it would just be... It would alert him that one time. I don't think
that Scarecrow wins more of the fights than Spider-Man wins, but I think he wins more fights than people would think on the surface. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. What number would you give this then?
So then, in this scenario, Spider-Man gets the 6.
Okay. Of course.
6 is a good number for
The
this.
go-to number 6. I'll give Spider-Man 7. I think there'll be some times where Scarecrow will be able to get him, but
Because how do you capitalize on the fear? Like if you've got him in the fear toxin, you still have to
get him.
go up and do something physical.
And given he's superhuman,
I wonder if Scarecrow has more things that we don't know about.
doesn't
He
he have a
He
didn't have a
more
scythe? He had a
things.
scythe in the.
I'm pretty sure he does, right? He has some kind of weapon going on.
But he's just a normal guy still, so it's tough.
It's tough.
All right. Well, I think that's it for the comic book discussion. I guess. Wow.
Yeah,
Some
this
very
is fun.
very
We're
interesting
doing
picks.
more matchups.
Oh.
Yes.
Sorry, before you end this, Scarecrow actually has superhuman strength, stamina, and
What?
mutated pheromones.
In what?
That's insane. That blows my mind.
That's-
Then Scarecrow
that
wins.
seems to be specific. That's specific in the fear world, though, right?
No, this just says that this is the canon for the character created in 1964.
It's
I
never been
knew that he
never.
had super strength. That's crazy.
It's never been a canon thing.
It also says he's a trained acrobat escapologist.
Oh my
A
god.
highly trained contortionist, extremely agile and
I
flexible.
wonder if him and General Grievous went to the same school.
Okay, well then.
So he
no.
is more high powered than you
Okay,
guys
let's
seem
go.
to think he was.
Let's go back then.
Oh no! I was ending the segment.
Sorry, I just wanted to
Just
add that
real
in.
quick though,
No.
if all those things are canon, I did not know that he was that good. Because contortionist and agility and like training these things, then he's more of an even keel.
But
And he
Batman
could-
beats him easily every time.
I'm not taking that away from you.
So that
but I
doesn't
feel like
make-
in this matchup now it's got to go 5-5 for me now. If all that is true, then Spider-Man's at a major disadvantage now.
I don't know if it is true. I don't know if I want to trust that the Google search that you just did, because that I've never understood that as an interpretation of Scarecrow, other than maybe during the fear toxin it gives him like the perception that he is.
You know what? Maybe next week on the podcast you can do a little caveat after looking into this, because this blew my mind. I did not know anything about Scarecrow. Apparently.
Okay, wait. Are you going off the DC or the Marvel?
DC.
Oh, I'm going off the Marvel Scarecrow.
Oh wow! This fight is entirely.
Okay.
Oh my!
He has a fear toxin that's innate to his body that he puts out to others.
Well, we didn't know that guy.
Okay.
This fight
Yeah.
is now.
I now
known.
realize that there were two different ones.
Oh, okay.
My B, guys. My
Okay.
B. I didn't realize.
I don't
there
know
was
what to
two.
do anymore. I don't know this.
Sorry.
Scarecrow.
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Didn't even know Marvel had a Scarecrow.
I'm so sorry,
That's
guys.
amazing.
My B.
Okay.
That Scarecrow sounds way better.
Okay, that
than the
Scarecrow.
DC.
That Scarecrow wins. Even though I know nothing about him, he just wins because this
It's got a lot going on.
The segment's done. He wins 6 out of 10 because even though it's overwhelming, it's gonna be 6 out of 10 because that's our favorite number here. All right. Well, thank you, Eva, for joining us
That was fun.
and ruining the last battle. But
I'm sorry.
It's funny that we just assumed that it was the
well,
DC.
because I mean, I guess we should have also assumed that Marvel is also cheap enough to be like, we also want a Scarecrow.
I did this by tier list. Everything I picked out on like community tier lists for what
Okay.
characters would be fair to put against
We
each other.
now know for next time to I'll put like a Marvel and DC bracket around the characters. All right. Thank you for joining us, and with that, we're gonna take our a break. Okay, and we're back, and we're going to be talking about now what we are watching. So,
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
or have we? I don't remember.
We're going too long with our stuff.
Yeah, we're really passing, like, we're passing an hour consistently each time, and I think that's fine. So, what is it that you're watching?
I binged the entire first season of the new Harley Quinn DC animated series.
Okay, and it's just called Harley Quinn.
It's just called Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Okay, so the biggest thing here is that we're dealing with a rated R.
Yeah.
Which, just for a minute, can I say, DC kills it with their animated stuff. And they've done so good for so long that that's why they're at the point they feel safe enough to do an animated thing that's rated R.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is not very common because people associate animation with
Kid stuff?
kid stuff.
Yeah.
Now, The biggest thing in the show is that this is the best representation of not just Harley Quinn, but DC characters and the world as a whole that I've seen in a long time. It's a deconstruction, but in a good way.
Okay.
So the premise of the show is that Harley Quinn is trying to become like a top level like supervillain
Oh,
within
okay.
her universe. And then as we explore that, we break down the common tropes of a supervillain, you know, like having a crew and like the things that you have to do and what that looks like and having a nemesis.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very clever deconstruction in that sense,
Okay.
but the writing is phenomenal.
Ooh.
Like the characters are who they're supposed to be. They're some of the best representations of those characters, but more importantly, the show goes out of its way to use the more D-list kind of cast, characters that I've never really seen focus on,
Okay.
and it was very endearing that way. One, it was really nice to get familiarized with characters that I haven't really seen. Makes it really fresh.
Sure.
But at the same time, as we were talking about last week in the pitch, it's always interesting to have things that are based around the villain, following the villain as your lead.
Yeah.
Which this show in abundance.
Yeah.
And I wish we would see that more because it's such a good take on these worlds because we rarely get the villain perspective done in an effective kind of way.
I do kind of like the premise. It's a very interesting premise. I had an interesting idea because I watched Birds of Prey, and I had like an interesting idea where like I would like to see Harley Quinn. I actually went the opposite. The supervillain way is interesting. I thought like her trying to make it in the modern day, given her like trying to like get a normal job. I thought that would be a very funny way to do it. But like I do like that premise. It's very interesting, and it's on their streaming service, which seems to be a big minus because I don't think anyone wants that.
Yeah, that streaming service is a joke, and it hasn't come to Canada yet. So
Oh,
you
perfect.
can't. Even if you wanted to
So obviously,
support them,
so obviously you've been flying to the States to watch this show
obviously,
and then coming back.
because obviously we do everything completely legal and on the up and up here at
So,
OVP.
Good on you, sir.
Worth the flight. Worth the flight. Let me tell you.
Okay.
No, really. And the most impressive thing, Ryan, is I'll tell you, much like the first season of Daredevil when that happened,
Yeah.
you just couldn't stop watching. Like, I couldn't stop. Like, once I discovered the first episode and just saw how good the writing was going to be and saw how the characters were coming off, I literally finished the first season all at once because I could not stop. I wanted to know.
Are they just like half-an-hour episodes?
We're looking at 20 to 25
Okay,
minutes.
yeah, so like the normal. Okay, and there's about, what, 14 episodes, 12 episodes?
13.
13 episodes, okay. Yeah, that seems doable.
That's still considerable. I'm out of time.
Is Batman in it?
I will tell you, the heroes do appear, which is another thing that really endeared me to the show. No spoilers, but the takes on the characters are still the characters, but seen in a light that you might not have ever seen them before.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you know what? I might give this one a chance then.
If you wanted me to give it a rating, I rate this 10 out of 10. Like full 5 stars.
Okay, so
It got me excited again about DC, the universe, and their characters in a way that I have not felt since the Batman animated series.
I can't wait to disagree with you. I can't wait.
Please watch it. Like, I would love to go OVP on this for real, because if you end up not liking it as much, I'm sure you'll have really good reasons.
Okay.
But really, Ryan, watch it. Like, if I recommend anything, this is like...
You say that with every time you try to recommend something. You do. You talk it up.
Everything that I've recommended is not as good as this thing. So if you want to take any of my recommendations, please take this one, because this one I'm super fascinated to see what you're going to think about this.
Okay.
I want your take, man. I want it. And I'm sure the listeners would love your take as well.
Maybe. Sure.
I'll tell you right now, though. Right now, it's like everybody likes this show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there hasn't been a person yet not to like the show.
I'll be the first one.
So you're going to be in the extreme minority.
Oh, man, I'll be the contrarian. I love it. Great opportunity for me. All right. Okay. All right. That's a big... I can't follow that really well. I recently watched a film, 2007 film called Golden Compass. Now, interestingly enough, there is a TV show now that they released, I think last year or maybe this year even. Mm-hmm. I think covering the material. Mm-hmm. It's a 3-book series, apparently. This was probably the movie how it ends. It seems like they thought they were going to get more movies, but because it did so poorly, it didn't.
Isn't that always fun?
That is. So the movie's not good. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. I was expecting like Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of bad, but to me it's more kind of bland and boring. Like that might even be like I might not even like the book series because I didn't really care for their like universe as much in terms of how it looked. But then again, Eva was saying that it was like up to interpretation on how the world would actually look. So this was their interpretation. There was another interpretation that could work. So maybe that one would be better. So I don't know. I mean, they chose a lot of good actors. We have Daniel Craig.
Wow.
Yeah, they pulled Daniel Craig. We have Nicole Kidman. Sam Neill.
Wow.
I like him. And we have Ian McKellen. So we have
Star-studded cast.
Star-studded. But then what really holds back the movie here is actually our main character. It's a little girl. And when it comes to kid acting, most of the time it's bad. And yeah, it was bad. So having to follow this character around and have her just be just the worst, I don't know.
We've also talked about this before. This is infinitely fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Is that sometimes it's better to be a really bad movie than just like a mediocre meh.
Yeah, because at least you remember stuff about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just saw this yesterday and I'm already forgetting. I'm like, what?
And it's also fun. Like it can go all the way around to being fun to like hate on how bad it is.
Yeah.
So in that way, making it good. You know what I mean? Enjoyable that way.
Yeah.
But movies that are just meh and kind of boring, they don't have that.
I'm trying to think what else.
What are we looking at for the world here? This is like a fantasy world.
Yeah, it's a fantasy world where people's souls aren't in their body. They're in an animal of some kind.
Oh, you lost me at animal. I was like, oh, that's a really... Oh, no.
And then, like, the whole idea is, like, the main villains are trying to... Because somehow that's related to dust, and it's because they got associated with dust that they have this kind of separation of the soul and body. So they're trying to reverse that a bit. So as kids... While their soul is not good, okay. As you grow up, your soul becomes more and more attached to that body, so attached to the animal. So if you kill the animal when you're grown up, you're dead. So they're trying to get these kids and trying to detach them from their animals early on, so that they can maybe still function, maybe have their soul actually go back into them instead of being in the animal. And they've been failing a lot, and they've been killing and messing up a lot of kids.
This is a really weird adaptation of Animorphs.
Oh,
to be honest with you.
Oh my! Those book covers, though, that's really sold me.
They had it.
They
were bumping. They were bumping.
If you're looking for good '90s covers, that's the ones you're looking for.
And also, they had this really funny gimmick, really cute gimmick of like the corners of the pages were the character turning into their animal form. So if you flip through the pages like really fast, you get you see the change. I always enjoyed that.
Yeah. Also, watching it made me think made me realize wow, how did anyone ever make a movie based off of one book before? How does it? Because the pacing was so quick. Like characters were supposed to meet, and then the next scene they're supposed to be at best friends. So that it's like everything's moving too quickly, and by the time it's over, you're like, oh, I'm just breathing now finally, because they have to go through the entirety of the plot in one movie. I'm like, how did they do this before? How does the Lord of the Rings work at all? It
almost seems like they just got lucky looking back in a lot of ways.
Maybe I guess not everything could be 3 hours. So maybe if this one had the 3 hours, it might have worked. Obviously, the CGI is not the best. 2007, we're still working on it there. Again, also it's a kids movie, so. It's a lot of
like a pandering kids movie though.
Kind of where the little girl is making all the big calls and she's always right and she's always doing the right thing, and it's no, Harry Potter was wrong a couple times, okay? Or I don't know.
It was wrong a lot of the time. I think I was a schmuck.
Yeah. So yeah, to me it's just kind of a bland fantasy movie that by the end of it, I was kind of I do like these characters. I like Sam Neill and I like Ian McKellen. So do
you like them because the actors who are portraying them, or do you like the characters?
Oh, just them. I don't care about the characters. Again, it feels like a bland... I guess I'm at that point in fantasy where going back a step, going back to the more classic kind of fantasy is kind of dull.
Right.
Because like I'm reading these new fantasies that have more complex character, more complex worlds.
The Stormlight Archive.
Yes, the book that I keep talking about, but never actually actively talk about on this podcast.
Oh, we're gonna get a review of the entire series at some point.
There's only 3 books. It was a 10-book series.
We're gonna get a review
Oh,
of the entire series at some point, Ryan.
but yeah, so it is, man.
Look out for that video on Glass Half Empty.
No, don't ever, don't expect anything but podcasts, or not even those. Don't expect anything from me and be surprised.
So you alluded to the pacing. Did
Yeah.
it feel long watching it, or did it at least have did it at least go through kind of quickly?
It went through quickly, and I didn't realize we were at the climax until like it just happened. I was like, oh, we're here already. Okay, I guess. Like, yeah, it just there's so many things they had to develop and throw at you so that the next movie would work. But they didn't get that next movie.
Is the world interesting enough that you would check out this show, or are you just not interested enough?
I don't care. I really don't. I don't think it's an interesting fantasy story that I would check out.
All right, give me an out of 10. What do we got?
Oh man. I'm actually kind of going a little high here just because I did start enjoying some of the stuff because obviously I like those actors, so I maybe give it a 6 out of 10. Like you might think that that's high, but like 6 to me is still pretty meh.
No, it's pretty low.
Yeah.
Because if 5 is just average, then
Like 5 is like it would have to be like nothing would stand out. Like nothing was interesting. And then 4 it had to be like there was so many bad things in this thing. So like there wasn't much bad. There wasn't much good either. So
maybe I'll check out that show and see what they got going on there.
yeah, see what His Dark Materials is all about. It's such a weird name for a title of a book series or show, His Dark Materials.
Names are hard, Ryan.
You're
Character
right.
names are hard. Book names are hard. Segment names are hard. Names are difficult.
That is true. Speaking of names, I think that's the end of the podcast. Obviously, great segues.
You can follow us at pretty much everything named OVP or some variation of. I'll get better at plugging this stuff eventually.
Yeah.
You can follow Ryan at his YouTube channel, Glass Half Empty, which will see a full review of this series, Stormlight Archive.
No! Absolutely not.
It's coming up, people.
Oh, it's never coming. No.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Notorious 29.
All right. See you guys later.